Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerding Grounds podcast. It's a weekly podcast about video games. We talk about all the latest and greatest, maybe, depending on the week, and dive into old stuff from time to time. Today, we are still in the midst of the summer madness where everybody is just deciding to release previews of games, and it's exhausting. But we got our Nintendo buddies up here at the front, and we're gonna talk about some of those announcements and then get into some of the things we've been looking at lately, and possibly a story of tragedy that I want to share. But how are you doing?
Good. I don't think my old man heart can take all these announcements, right? And this footage.
And this footage.
It really is. It's too much. It's just too much.
Yeah, I know. There's something that is really driving your intrigue right now.
I mean, there's a few things now, right?
But perhaps a game long lost to history that is making a resurgence.
There's multiple, right? Like there's literally multiple. But I mean, I guess you were alluding to the remake of Mario RPG.
That's right.
Right? Like what? They're remastering Super Mario RPG. I'll reiterate that they're remastering Super Mario RPG and bringing it to the Switch. Like what?
Yeah,
I never thought they would ever do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume Nintendo listened to this podcast, right? And they were like, "Oh yeah, that game was great. We should redo that."
I mean, that's the only sensible conclusion, is that they listened to our podcast. They were one of the 24 views last week.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, guys, let's remake it in a week, and to have footage to show."
Seems good to me.
And this seems like it could just be a typical remake, fresh graphics, same gameplay, all that stuff. But I guess you don't mess with Super Mario RPG too much, and the art is gorgeous. Like, it looks great. It doesn't. I know Pokemon is a lot of those remasters where the art style can be hit or miss depending on the generation. But I mean, this looks really clean and polished and still has that squashed, Mario RPG.
Which I like, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and the game is so ridiculously old. I don't think you really need to change anything really about it, right? I just remember it kind of just being a pleasant experience all the way through, for one, right? So there's not anything that I could think of that I would change at the moment.
Yeah, just unexpected, I guess.
Right. Very, very unexpected. I mean, it's great, though. We talked about it here. It is a game that not a lot of people knew even existed. So it'd be cool to have more people have access to it.
Yeah, I mean, I, for one, haven't really... I don't think I've gone all the way through it, just because, I download the ROM and I try my best, but my attention span just... Usually when they put in the work to fully remake something like this, it's more guaranteed to take my attention. But it kind of reminds me of the effort they put into Link's Awakening, where clearly they kept a style but gave it a new style at the same time. And I think that's important when remaking, and not just making something shamelessly for cash.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of remaking but giving it a new sort of style, I was looking at most people probably wouldn't be interested in it, but the new Star Ocean, right? We were talking about it like 2 seconds ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where the environment, and it's another remake, folks, but the environment's like a fully realized 3D sort of space, but they're keeping the characters as pixels, right? Pixelated, which actually looks cool. Looks like really cool.
Well, if
something
Nintendo
odd.
had put on, title cards or, breaks. There it is. Okay. Star Ocean. Oh, I see what you mean now.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at this preview, but ooh, it's nice. And a little different than I guess what you'd expect from Octopath or what have you, because it's not 3D. It really is full 3D environments. It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
it's
Like,
not slightly 3D pixelated environments, but the characters are full on PlayStation 1 bit graphics in like a high res JRPG setting. So that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it is I guess, an interesting choice, but it instantly piqued my interest. Right, I kind of like it.
Yeah, yeah. It's got the whole Octopath Bravely Default thing going on, but with its own, you know,
Yeah.
ideas clearly. So that's pretty neat. Um, Scrolling through here, there's some Pokemon stuff, which I'm not really worried about. There is this Persona 5 spinoff, which I think we touched on briefly last week, but this is, a tactics spinoff thing. Kind of reminds me of Mario and Rabbids a little bit,
Right.
or XCOM, I guess, if you would go to
Yeah,
the
I think
actual inspiration.
at least I don't know. I would have to relook at it. It definitely looked like more of your typical tactics, your square tactics sort of thing, like Final Fantasy Tactics,
Hmm.
which I definitely thoroughly enjoy. So I'm fine with there being more games in that space, especially in a franchise like Persona. Probably do well there.
I don't, I find myself getting a little exhausted with how much Persona 5 there is. It's like I can't even
Oh
get through
yeah,
the main
yeah.
game. You've re-released the game as Royal. You put in the Dynasty Warriors style spin-off. Now we
Mm,
have a tactic style spin-off.
yeah.
How much Persona 5 can we fit in before the next Persona?
Yeah, they would really need like a Persona 6 at this point, and then they're redoing 3 to make it more like 5. It's like, oh my God, come on.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I guess they're doing that I called it not Persona, because I don't remember the ridiculous name of the game, but they're doing that new game that is like, okay, with the Persona UI, just with as much stuff
Metaphor?
on screen as humanly possible, right? It
Yeah,
really
the metaphor game.
pushes the idea of form over function for
Yeah, I
sure.
agree. So,
But I mean, it looks kind of cool, I guess, right?
yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see because I think a lot of like Shin Megami Tensei games, right? Am I saying that right? I
Yeah.
don't know. Uh they definitely all followed that sort of persona esque thing, right? You always have those personas, no matter the game.
You're yeah,
They're like
you're
the monsters, basically.
you're weird sometimes sexual cosplay monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Almost all the
exactly.
time.
Almost all the time.
This doesn't look like it has that, so that's cool, and that's like actually like one of my least favorite parts about the series. Especially, I find like combining the monsters, or you have like okay, you have your starting sort of in Persona 5 a lot of all the personas, right? You have your starting sort of monsters that seem very special, but you can combine them to make other ones like they which I don't even know why.
It's not my favorite system. It leads to a lot of everything feeling not permanent.
Yeah,
And yeah, it kind of bothers me. It's interesting at first because but then after a while, I'm like, I just want to go forward with what I have and beat the game. Like I don't feel like
I would prefer if they
micromanaging.
gave each character like just a set sort of roster, right? Then you can
Yeah,
eventually kind of go down the line. Um,
I
and go down
agree.
through the game and like unlock new personas that way. I would prefer, but hey, I get it. I'm not sure if that's why A lot of people really like the series. I guess it has its monster collecting sort of aspect to it. So,
I
and
find the
I
sim
really enjoy that.
aspect much more engaging.
Same, same, same,
Um,
same, same.
yeah. Okay, so we got Detective Pikachu coming back, solving crimes, all that stuff. I never played the first one. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was cute. Um, I could
You
get
know, I
down on
never
this.
watched it.
Huh?
I said, you know, I never watched it.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah,
It's pretty decent. I mean, it's just a fun,
right.
all ages action adventure thing. I didn't play Detective Pikachu because it came out on the 3DS after the Switch had released. And so it was one of those weird late releases that, you know,
Yeah,
I guess it got delayed or something, or they just had to get it out of the door anyway. 3DS wasn't quite dead yet, but yeah, it was
dead
interesting.
enough. Dead
Yeah.
enough.
So I might play that. Um, Luigi's Mansion and Peach. Peach is getting a new game, and then Luigi's Mansion is getting a remake of Dark Moon, which was just um, like a little teaser. So that was cool. Pikmin 4 is coming. Um, I like Pikmin. I'll probably play 4. That seems like a damn good Switch game to have. And
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you have anything to say about Pikmin.
No, not really. I mean, I enjoyed Pikmin back in the day, right? I mean,
Well, let's move on to Metal Gear Solid.
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid
Metal Gear Solid, what's
trilogy.
that? Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. That
Yeah.
trilogy is coming to Switch. And at first I was like, oh God, port, and is it going to be the best? And I was like, wait, these are like PlayStation 2 games. Why am I like the Switch should have no problem running these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be a really good place to have them.
Yeah, no, it would be cool to play, you know, Metal Gear in
Still
the bathroom.
still not getting that Twin Snakes port
Yeah,
though, are
which
we?
no, I mean, I guess if they would have to be porting that everywhere else. I wonder I just
But
wonder
that
what
was
the
a
rights are for
Nintendo
that.
exclusive.
Yeah.
So I would think that it would be okay.
Yeah, I just think it would be weird if they just had it on like the Nintendo, but Nintendo maybe shouldn't be stingy and should just allow that to be on for every version.
That is a game I would irresponsibly pay $60 for.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
Irresponsibly.
Anyway, Metal Gear Solid's great.
Yeah.
Um, and then, some other stuff. A lot of DLC announcements, which don't really interest me. We talked about Star Ocean. Not much else I'm invested in except this new Super Mario Bros., which, I like the new Super Mario Bros. Series, the side-scrolling one. I know a lot
Right.
of people think it's too easy or it's just not classic Mario enough or boring, but they're fun and multiplayer pretty fun.
I feel like it's
Um,
it's like a family experience, right? That's what
yeah,
they
and
were
it's
aiming
still
for.
some side-scrolling, kind of casual Mario. So
Uh,
I like that. And there's some wackiness in this one too. Like he turns into an elephant.
I'm ready for like a new Odyssey, right? A
Yeah,
new
yeah, for sure.
mainline Mario experience. That would be great. It's been a while.
Super Mario Iliad.
Been a long while. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Nintendo.
I,
I
I don't
think.
worry. I see what you did there.
Thank you. I needed that to be recognized. Yeah, that's Nintendo. We done it. That's the direct from June 21st. Now there's another game that's coming out of the ashes that I know you're excited about.
Eh,
But real quick, can I share my tragic story now that we're in
no,
Nintendo area?
we gotta talk about
I
we gotta talk about Armored Core. Come on, what
we
are you
will talk
doing?
about Armored Core, but the worst thing happened to me last week, and
I know.
I didn't even tell you about it.
Go on. What happened?
For my birthday, my family very generously pulled together to get me the Zelda Switch OLED.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
it was
on.
Excellent.
You
Got it.
said tragedy, though. I'm
It
going.
was run over by a bus. No. Um,
Oh
so I
God.
get it. I start going through the whole process the next day of being like, all right, got to transfer my stuff over to this new Switch, which I'm just going to get out of the way here, is an awful system. Nintendo has been notorious for how bad their migration to a new Switch device is, but I didn't
Right.
realize how bad it was until I actually had to do it for myself. You you have to basically move, either you have the online subscription and you can upload everything to the cloud and then you can re-download it on your new one, but only your save files. Game files have to be fresh installed every time. So this is only for
Right.
saves. So you have to reinstall everything. Not that bad, but whatever. It's tedious. I had like, if you don't have the online thing, you have to manually move your saves over with a like transfer by proximity thing. So you press
Oh, right.
transfer on
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one, and you press receive on the new one, and it just bloop goes and it pushes it over. But that system you can't bulk. You have to do it one by one by one, and there's like 5 different buttons you have to press. And so I try it out with Tears of the Kingdom. And it goes over there, and I'm like, okay, well, that works, but I have like 70 more save files. This is going to take forever. And so I'm trying, like, some people are like, oh, you're supposed to be able to mass move them over, right, when you turn it on. So I'm like, well, let me try. I factory reset my new Switch. I'm like, let me try this from the start. Didn't realize that when you do that, it moves the whole file over and removes it from your previous Switch. So I lost my 100-hour Tears of the Kingdom file
Yeah,
permanently.
I wouldn't have factory reset the the new Switch.
It was kind of just a move. I didn't think it was completely transferring my save over. I thought it was
Right.
like copying it for some reason, and it wasn't clear in the slightest. But it definitely was me moving too fast and not thinking enough.
No, I mean, I don't know why it would just move the whole thing over. I don't really understand why it wouldn't just copy. That whole part is super weird. It makes no
Yeah.
sense,
Because
actually.
if you wanted to like have a second Switch, like a Switch Lite or something, you'd have to move your save files over every time you were done playing on that device. So you can't just pick up your other Switch. I mean, I guess your cloud save, but then you have to go and update your cloud save data. And so
Right.
for people that don't even have the subscription, yeah, you have to manually move it over all the time. So this whole idea of having separate switches is it doesn't work. Okay, so anyway, yeah, lost my whole Tears of the Kingdom file that I had been obsessively putting time into since basically we started talking about it on the podcast.
Right.
Um, I was very far, had done a ton of collecting, and
No, it is. It's
it
super
was
disheartening. Yeah.
it was a bummer. And kind of like tarnished this whole situation of, oh, I got this brand new Switch that I'm obsessed with, and now I
Yeah.
just lost a file to this game that
That's
was,
on the Switch, right?
yeah, and one that I was absolutely obsessed with. Like, I remember starting Breath of the Wild over after probably 50 hours on Wii U or something like that. And it wasn't that big of a deal. It was like, I don't want to do this again, but I have a Switch. This, I just felt like I had created such a profile in this game that uh, it was so upsetting.
Well,
So
guess what? You get to do
Nintendo,
it all over again.
Nintendo,
Exciting.
you suck. I have started over and I'm making my way through it, but every now and then I'm just like I
Uh,
see something I remember and I'm like, damn it.
yeah. Speed run.
That's what I started focusing on yesterday. I'm like, let me just do things as fast as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how much you remember, but it happens. It's done. But yeah, it was a real
Yeah. That
bummer.
sucks. At least I mean I don't think we're exactly strangers to stuff like this happening. You know, you play
No,
video games and be around for as long as we have. You've lost some saves. That's for sure.
I've had this curse with Zelda ever since Link to the Past. When I started up file when I was probably 13, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna beat this. I haven't played it since I was younger. Um, got to probably two bosses from the end, and my whole save file just got corrupted.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
definitely like Super Metroid for one. Before I beat the game for the first time, I lost like two saves.
yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to remember the name of the RPG that I should remember the name of, but my brain sucks. It's
Oh, I know this story. It was the SNES RPG with
yeah,
the Toriyama art.
yep. Come on, we got it.
Not Secret of Mana. No. Uh,
No,
about time. What is happening?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Just
I
I
don't.
have the
Yeah,
game right here. Like it's in my handheld. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah,
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
Holy shoots and ladders, folks. Yeah, yeah. That
I yeah, I
has
remember.
been cursed because I literally like lose or the game itself gets stolen before I get a chance to
You're just never gonna
beat it.
complete it.
Yeah. Well, I have it on my computer, and I don't think you can steal my computer, but you can't steal my Steam library. So, well,
It might have a
never
cloud
mind.
save now too,
I need some wood to knock on because I want to get hacked or something.
right? Or your computer explode.
Yeah, exactly. Or both happening at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Knowing my luck, that's just how much the universe doesn't want me to beat that game.
right. Well, I'm dead set on beating this, and at this point now, as a just a for honor, I need to get back to pretty much where I was. So I'm going on vacation tomorrow for a week and a
Ooh,
half. I think that's a good opportunity to play through a bunch of a handheld Zelda game that you have already played.
yeah.
So, but it is one of those games where it's like Animal Crossing or something where the time you put in can be really meticulous. And so the thought of having to do that stuff, unlike, a more traditional style Zelda, that you can get through and you're not as bothered. But when it's all these little collecting and secret unlocking and exploration bits, that's the hard part. Um, just wanted to share that. Now,
Yeah, that sucks.
yeah, it does, but I'll be fine. Now you want to talk about Armored
Oh
Core?
yeah, yeah. Well, now that you like deflated the room, you
Eh,
know,
eh. It was in an
it
effort to find hope.
yeah. Well, I got nothing for you. Does it have a cloud save? I mean,
No, it was completely wiped, basically.
yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's over. I'm like
For some
20.
reason.
I'm like 15 hours back in, so we're getting there.
All right. So, Armored Core.
Armored Core.
I- That's just all right. You know what? Anyway, so exactly what we were saying. They released some new footage. Or exactly from what it looks like, they did exactly what I wanted. I think we wanted,
Oh yeah,
right? Where they just took everything that they learned from Dark Souls, right? And then they put it in Armored Core.
yeah.
And
Because
it
like you,
looks go on.
I was gonna say you want a mech battler, but you want the agility of, you
Yeah.
don't want to get in there and like static movement. And I mean, Armored Core has always been about momentum and fluid motion, but it does get a little, I guess like muscle memory confusing
Yeah, a little
to keep track of everything on the controller. And this just seems really kinetic and fast paced, and the
it does.
combat motion is fluid, and it seems like it does a lot of tracking for you based on how you're playing. So if you're flying around all ridiculously, it's going to auto target. And then if you get into like a one-on-one battle, you really can operate in 360 degrees.
Yeah. Which yeah, I mean it's just super cool. And then now there's like, I mean, I guess there was boss battles before to a certain extent, but now it seems more of like a Dark Souls boss battle sort
Like
of
a
thing going on.
big crazy machine.
Yeah. Yeah, with like its own like unique cool animations going on. You really have to like dodge and move around.
Yeah.
And there's things like stagger meters now too. So it's kind of like there's a big point, which is awesome. Big point to maybe sitting there and shooting at a distance and then rushing in to finish things off with your beam saber,
Yeah, yeah. And they
which
didn't
looks awesome.
it does. The
Yeah,
lighting,
yeah,
it's very
everything.
harsh lighting.
And there's
Um,
something about from software from I feel like from the get go they have really just got the weight of combat down to a
mm,
T. Like things feel very good to hit, and getting hit, like the feedback is just
yeah.
phenomenal. It always has been. Like I realize that you play a lot of other games and that's just not there, and you're like, I mean, come on, these guys have been doing it. Just copy what they were doing.
Yeah, their collision and their animation, all that stuff does create a very visceral experience. And
Right.
when you're flying around and controlling a basically a warhead machine, that is super important. And it looks like they're gonna give you a lot of space to operate here. Like you can,
Yeah, you
instead of it being
fly.
like, here's a mission, go here, beat these enemies, do that. Which I will say, I think Armored Core was a little more complex than that, but there were a lot of run this mission, defeat this other mech. This
Right,
seems much more focused on exploring an area in a large open area that has multiple levels and is just like this giant rig refinery in the sky. At least that's what was on the gameplay demo.
right. Yeah, and the I guess the level design there looks fantastic.
It
I
does,
mean,
yeah.
I guess there is a little bit more like bland corridors, but just when you're out in the open, you're kind of just flying around. It really gives that sense of space, right? Depth that just,
Yeah. I would
I
hope
don't know.
the other levels have some
It's
variety
very,
for sure.
oh, yeah. Well, I said, and Armored Core's never really been much on variety, much on like level design or anything like that.
But
So
that
I
is something they picked up from creating Dark Souls. So,
Exactly. So hopefully that we definitely see more of that in different sort of areas. I know we're supposed to be always in a kind of like a war torn esque Earth where there isn't really much resources and stuff to go around. So it's all
yeah.
going to be bleak, but hopefully we can just see, some different environments for sure, different levels that feel very different than the last. Different
Yeah.
enough.
Different enough. Um, yeah, and I mean, and if you aren't familiar with Armored Core, some things I think you can definitely expect is full customization of
Yeah.
your mech,
Yeah. I
mecha.
mean,
What's the
one of
difference
the
between a mech and mecha? I've heard this conversation before.
I don't know. I really
I
don't
think
know.
I think a mech has legs and arms, and a mecha can be more of a hybridization. But either way, you can expect
The
your
both, because you can do whatever in
you
Armored
can do
Core.
whatever. Yeah, you can attach whatever missile launchers you want to your shoulders, beam sabers, assault rifles, sniper rifles in your hands. So that's always a
Quad
part that
legs,
I love
tank
so much.
legs,
hmm
bipedal legs, right?
Legs that
All,
can kick people across the room.
yeah. Yeah, apparently that's very much so a thing. You can just straight eat things now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. So one of the reasons why I absolutely loved four and like four answers was just the general speed to everything. And it like if you wanted to primarily use beam sabers, you could really get in and do some damage.
hmm
And it just felt very fun to play. It's like very quick action, just moving around. This just seemed like they took that and dialed it up. It's not to say that you have to play like that. No, you could definitely always be the big tank dude and carry like some very heavy armaments, right? Just blow
Yeah. Yeah.
everything up. But if you don't like that, you can do the opposite, which is great. and with
Yeah.
overly, I mean, very complex looking stats
Yeah, definitely.
and weight requirements and energy requirements and all that good stuff. That is maybe a little overbearing, but fun.
Do you think, and I have to ask this question because it's from software and knowing what they became over the last decade or so, I wonder if you're going to be doing this on like a run based, mission based thing where you're pulled out at the end and you go back to like a menu, or
Yeah,
if you're going to stay in universe and not. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't remember any Armored Core not having that.
yeah.
But if
It's
they
always been like
are
mission based.
pulling from a Dark Souls thing, like would you go back to a base where you can move around and kind of like a bonfire situation where all the upgraders are in a centralized location?
I don't know, right? Because I think looking at it, I think they very much so wanted to have that Armored Core sort of experience to the game because they didn't want to alienate Armored Core fans.
Yeah.
Um, but while bringing in, yeah, a lot of the aspects from the Souls games, and trying to really appeal to all the Souls players out there, it would be great to see a cohesive world, right? As opposed to level based. God knows I hate level based designs, but I don't know why. I've just never been like a fan of that. Um
Yeah. And it's
Devil
mostly
Cry
with
May
games.
Cry maybe being the only thing that I'm like will
Yeah.
play, but that I can think of right now.
But I would say it's usually in games where you are piloting something or like a racing game where you're driving something where they don't want to animate an entire character, human being or humanoid for running around a base. Like it is kind of pointless unless you do something enticing with that.
Right. But
So
yeah,
I
but
get it.
it helps with the immersion for sure. And I
It
mean that would be
it
cool.
does. Yeah. And I know a lot of JRPGs that have done like they've had like I think that one for Switch that kind of felt Daemon X Machina. I know
Yeah.
that one had it to where you went back to the base, you were running around
Right.
as a humanoid out of your mech. But I also don't think it was very good.
Yeah. I mean, at least it just didn't really gain any popularity, that's for sure.
Oh, here's some
I
gameplay
don't
on
know.
the garage.
Really.
Yeah, I mean it's you're changing parts
I
down
mean,
to
changing parts, which
all
apparently,
your
I mean, you
chess
can
piece
do
and stuff.
that at any point in time, basically.
Really,
So,
like
like,
on the
yeah,
start menu.
yeah, from the start menu. So, I mean, that really makes me think you just not. But it's weird because you can unlock shortcuts and stuff, but like Dark Souls. So I'm a little surprised that there isn't like a bonfire sort of thing going on there. But I guess that it is like a big old like hangar garage.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So pretty much what I figured, but yeah, and then going back out into the world. But yeah, here bosses and mini bosses you have. Um,
To answer your question, I have no idea. Right? It's sheer speculation because I really don't know. Do I really hope they mix it up a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. Does Armored Core kind of set up the whole mission based thing? Yeah, I mean it does. You're a mercenary,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
literally going on. Traditionally, you're just going on different missions for different factions, right? And basically just getting money for your mech until some half-baked story element starts to kind of appear from software, right? Can't
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna get that. We're not gonna get any sort of
You gotta
cohesive story.
you gotta dig deep.
Yeah, real deep. Uh, but I don't know. I would just it would be cool if there was more of a overworld experience at least,
Yeah,
and
I
some
can see that.
downtime in the garage and just that stuff that really helps immersion. I think that we just really want. I mean, maybe I just want everything,
I
and
just want everything.
yeah,
There's
especially
well,
in like. a new Armored Core, but also just a mech game. I just want to feel like I'm there, you know?
Well, they just don't make enough video games. And so when they do make one of these, it's very rare. We're very nitpicky about it. We just want all the stuff.
Yeah, enough mech video games. Yeah. Well, and yeah, from software, you know.
Yeah. So this comes out um doop. I don't know. Does this have a release date? Did they say early
I don't even-
2024?
Yeah, I think they did. I'm not. I actually don't remember.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Me too. Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun, regardless. Of what sort of game loop design they decide to go with.
Yeah, for sure. We will be playing that. I also know that you played a bit of a demo that was available.
Yeah, the game that we've talked about quite a bit, really, every time it comes up.
Lies of
But
P.
yeah, Lies of P. Interesting, right? That is a game that does not shy away whatsoever about being a Souls-like.
No.
It is a Souls game through
Yeah, it's
and
like all we
through.
could say was just this looks like a
Yeah,
blood somebody really wanted Bloodborne 2 and was like, "Well, I'm going to make it myself."
yeah, and that's kind of how it plays, right? Um, I guess the way that the game sets itself apart a little bit is and this actually has something to do with what we were talking about when we were watching the game, the blocking, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
kind of the blocking mechanics. So the game actually has a perfect like a perfect parry, perfect block sort of system in place. You can
Okay.
block anything, but depending on your weapon type, it's going to do damage to you.
Yeah,
Unless of
okay.
course you block at the perfect right time. In that case, you not only don't take damage, but you deal like stagger damage to the enemy. There's no
Okay.
stagger bar on any of the enemies, which I really, really wish they would have. I don't know
Yeah.
why they don't, because it for the most part, seemingly it's like very important, especially for bosses. Like bosses don't give you too many openings really, from what I've seen, or like big any sort of big enemies. So that I guess there's different ways to play, but it seems like one of the best ways to play is to block, perfect block, until you can basically do like a big stun finisher sort of thing to do a lot of
Hmm.
damage to it. That is
Yeah.
pretty interesting. It's another game that I think that, where I got to be nitpicky about the blocking feedback. It's like it doesn't really feel good
Organic.
enough. Yeah. Like for a game that you're supposed to block all the time, I would like to really feel like I am taking that hit and blocking it, you know? Instead it's just like
Yeah.
ding, like there's nothing, no movement, no sort of, even if there is, it just doesn't feel like good enough. It's no Wolong parry,
Did
right?
you
It's
find
no
yourself
Dark
comparing it
Souls
more to
anything.
Do you find yourself comparing it more to Sekiro in terms of the importance of blocking, and that's why maybe it was disappointing? Because I wouldn't say that
Yeah.
blocking in Dark Souls feels great either. It's
Yeah, I just
usually
meant like the hit feedback in general in Dark
yeah.
Souls. It's kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
there, right? There's definitely a lot of weight to it. Definitely more like Sekiro, right? Like the game kind of is Sekiro in all regards of
Okay.
its sort of pairing system, I guess. It's not that you need it,
He's even got a
but
trick arm.
but yeah, like the dodging kind of sucks. So it
Really?
is way more advantageous to, I think, in my opinion, it's kind of like they want you to not parry, even though you can parry with a rapier, but perfect block. You
Get
know,
up in that ass.
yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, get up in that ass. That's
Cool.
very important. It was fun though. It is very fun. I died so much,
Really?
just so much. Yeah, one particular enemy just beat me down relentlessly, and then for that dude, I felt like I really kind of had to match things up. Uh,
You try
and
multiple weapon types out?
Yeah. So another cool thing, there was a lot more weapons, and the demo is actually pretty long. Like my guy, I think it's like the whole like first area. There was, from what I found, at least like 5 weapons. There's one, two,
Hmm.
yeah, 5 weapons. And one really, really cool thing that I think might set itself apart, the weapons are all the blade, club, what have you, in the handle. And these are two separate entities that kind of come together when you get them. But
Hmm.
partway through the game, you get the ability to kind of combine into whatever weapon you want.
With the
Um,
handle?
yeah, with the handle, like the handle and blade, you can just swap them up, and
Oh,
each both the blade and the handle have their own scalings, right? Your typical like basically like strand decks or I guess status build up sort of thing.
okay. Yeah.
But they also have different abilities, and as you're attacking and all this stuff, you build up ability bar. Some of these are very, very good and very defensive, which I find to be kind of weird because there is unblockable moves in the game,
Okay.
but the defensive abilities on the handles, specifically like parry or like perfect guard, can actually block or parry these things. So it's kind of like, well, why wouldn't I always use those? But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's also different like buff next attack, buff attack for a while, or in the blades will have like special sort of like flurries, that sort of thing. So like a big spin attack.
Yeah. I'm
And
trying to wrap my head around how that would work or be helpful, but yeah, I guess it's just one of those you
it
start
really,
playing around with it as you.
yeah. Well, and I think that like really helps our builds, makes this big like maybe build diversity that you might see if people really start playing the game, or even when people play the game, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody plays Souls likes. I It also, one crazy thing, the the weapon, um what's the word I'm looking for? The attacks, right? Hold on one second.
Yep.
You heard it too? That's weird. Quick pause.
You're killing me today, recording bot. Well, it says it reconnected, so okay.
All right.
Anyway,
Any hoozle. Uh but the why can I not remember this word today? Right, whatever, the attack patterns.
rutabaga.
That is actually determined by the handles too. You
Oh,
know?
okay.
So like let's have like look think about the great sword kind of thing, which I actually wind up using through most of it just because it had like the best guard,
Mm-hmm.
and good attack, which and but still being relatively quick. I mean, its normal sort of attack pattern was like a stab forward and then like a slash, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But changing that handle to something else, like even the rapier, it would use like the rapier's like quick stab, but now you have this big old blade and you're like to the flurry like with the
That's
rapier.
kind of Tears of the Kingdom ish.
Yeah.
You can just fuse something to the bottom of something and turns it into a complete different weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Or I mean, one particular cool thing, there was there's like a stun baton. So I kind of wish you get like a stun baton, which is a cool weapon, and it just has your typical like slashes, like good wide reaching slashes. So I took the handle of that and put it onto the great sword, which made like this pretty big freaking weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which I really wish it would make it like electric. I don't know why it
Boogie,
didn't
boogie,
do
boogie.
that. It does now. It does give it like the status build up, scaling, right? And there are definitely, of course, items you can use to apply that stuff to your weapon. So I think maybe, I mean, that right there, it's like kind of a cool idea. It's like I could take
Yeah.
the great sword and then, I just have a bunch of status build up things and probably do a lot more damage. But I didn't have the time to sit there and test that one. But it made it, this like even bigger sort of great sword with like really good wide sweeping attacks. Instead of not that the little forward stab was bad originally, but this was like, hey, if I have multiple enemies coming at me, which you always do, of course, I can kind of more easily hit all of them at once with this particular weapon build.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean that makes it really interesting. I mean, it could also be, like, oh well, these sort of special moves work really well together, and the scaling works really well together. You can change the scaling on the handles anyway, but these I hate these weapon movements, but eh,
What
just
about
have to
the?
see. Go
I
on.
was gonna, I was gonna say, what? How does the arm play into all that? Do you feel
Yeah,
like those
and then
skills
there's
were
an arm.
useful?
So in the demo, I only got a hold of two arms. There's like the original, which was just like a little punch, which it's like
Okay.
stupid. The other one's like a grappling.
Pinocchio punch.
Yeah, basically. Which the game really like leans really heavily into the you're a puppet, but you can lie.
Okay. How's- well, I just saw.
That's important, okay?
That's important.
Just know
Okay.
that's important. Uh, I I
I saw when I watched some gameplay of this. I saw loading screen. It was like lying, please, or now lying, and then when you die, it was like lie. So I don't
or
know,
die.
or
Yeah.
die. So
Yeah,
yes,
it's a
clearly they're going to have fun with their public
there's like
domain
quick
fiction.
time events where
Oh,
like you can tell the truth or you can lie, which really makes no sense to me. I mean, I guess maybe there is some significance there later, but it's more like lying is like the good thing. I think they're trying to set up a whole theme there, kind of
yeah.
like,
Okay.
oh, to get into this thing, puppets can't lie, right? Like it's built into their code and that they can't lie, right? And
Right.
they can't. It's literally like what's that fucking movie with Will Smith with the robots,
iRobot.
iRobot? Yeah,
I
but
did not murder him.
except there's not three laws, there's four laws of robotics, right?
Oh,
And one of them is, of course, robots can't
the
lie.
rule 34.
Yeah. Which, by the way, this is a game with a bunch of animatronic puppets going around.
Yeah, I
Right?
see. I
Yeah.
see.
I don't know why you would ever be
We can
excited
talk.
about this
We
game.
can talk about it later. I
Uh,
think if I'm going in expecting to be spooked, it might
yeah.
be okay.
I mean, it's not that spooky, right? But I think,
No, it again seems more like Bloodborne. I don't know.
yeah. But I think they did a pretty good job, even with like, uh, we're getting way off track here, but even with Dreamboat Pinocchio, I'll call him, which it
Um,
seems kind of weird to have a character that is just like,
Timothy Chalamet.
yeah, is as handsome as possible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he does like weird little like like very minuscule twitches and stuff that he still seems like puppety.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think they actually did a really cool job there.
On his quest to become a real boy.
Yeah, exactly.
If I had a mechanical arm, I don't think I'd want to become a real girl. I think I would just stick with my mechanical arm. That seems really cool.
Yeah, I mean I think that's that's what they go for. So yeah, back to it. The other one was a grappling arm, right? So you could use it to pull, get over here, Scorpion,
Get over
sort of thing,
here.
which was cool. But at the same time, it's like minuscule uses. It's kind of
Mm,
like, hey, there's two enemies over there, or I know if I turn this corner, there's going to be like three or four enemies that are gang up on me. Let me
yeah.
grab this one and get over here, and kind of tack it. For some stupid reason, you can't use it like vertically though. So if there's a enemy that you would really want to grab that's like 2 feet above you, you can't do that, which seems kind of take away the point of it a
Yeah.
little bit. But I don't know. It's an extra little thing to add to combat. I guess maybe you can kind of use it to. I can take it. You can. with your normal attacks and your specials, you can kind of weave those in, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
The buttons seem of kind of really unresponsive, so I hope they fix all that. There's a lot of
Like
times where
animations not starting or something.
yeah, or it's just not really doing it. It seems like a lot of them are more like hold activated, but with
Oh,
like a
okay.
weird sort of timing to it that I just don't understand. So it's like I would go to do something and it literally just doesn't happen, you
Hmm.
know? But which is
Well,
extremely annoying when we're dealing with like their perfect guard or the parry, that you still have to time really well.
well, that you
And
want things to be just on
yeah,
point instead of
yeah.
yeah.
And the backstab animations like that doesn't go in. I mean, that's not exactly like in previous Soul series, it was very hard to kind of get those off sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
But this, yeah, it's like really bad. Actually, it's functionally unworking at
Oh,
times.
that's
Yeah,
no good.
which yeah, it seems odd that they would release a demo really in that state.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, they do have months to work on it, and this
they do.
does seem like one of the most fleshed out one of these in a long time. I know
It
people were really into the Surge too, but
yeah, that is true. So yeah, I mean, this definitely seems like one of the most fleshed out Souls likes in a long time. It has its bugs that I really hope they fix. So like you fight this one boss, I guess it's like a human, and you don't really fight too many of those. Where like I quickly realized I could just go to its back constantly and attack it or
backstab. Oh,
backstab it, and it's not like a lazy walk, right? It's like a big saw hammer thing that's just like, okay, this is a joke,
okay.
but
Well,
it was fun. I
yeah, I might still
enjoyed
check
it.
out this demo just for funsies, but I'm definitely going to play it.
Yeah,
I'm digging it.
no, I would check out the demo. I would
Yeah,
advise anybody who's interested to check out the demo. It's
just
nice
for the
to
feel.
yeah, I guess I like the aesthetics of it kind of being in a city that's been overrun by puppets, right? It's kind of like the
Victorian steampunk
yeah,
something or another. Yeah.
where iRobot happened and puppets just started killing people.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's a good one. I played a game called Humanity after I tragically deleted my Zelda file and couldn't go back to it right away. Um,
Makes sense.
and yeah, I saw some gameplay of this and I knew it was just going to be an entertaining, fun puzzle thing. But essentially, you're this little dog that controls a constant stream of people that are, I think, on their way to the afterlife. And so it's kind of a lemmings thing where they're just walking in a straight line and you have to direct them where to turn and where to jump and
Okay.
throughout that. So you wind up having this really, in some levels, this insane walking stream of people that's going in a bunch of different directions and in some places like almost creating water fountains or something. You have to see it, but I'm putting some gameplay here. It's really interesting, and there's clearly a lot of systems going on, but it's still a simplistic puzzle game where you're collecting items and doing physics tricks to get this stream of people to the ascension platform. And they start going up, and then that's your complete condition. But it gets really tricky, and made me feel stupid a couple times, but
In
it's fun.
a game called Humanity where you play a dog, a doge.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rapture simulator.
Yeah, that's weird, but sounds cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Sounds like fun, like maybe a fun little game to play.
Yeah, definitely. I just need to focus on something and not get too bogged down in minute details in a game.
Yeah.
And then I started on um, Lost Judgment, but I'm not too far in that. I just kind of got through the tutorial area and got to the new town where you're helping out a fellow detective agency get off the ground, and beating up a bunch of high school students. So, eh.
Oh, okay.
But I love Judgment. Um, it's honestly just a fantastic game. And I mean, if anybody's, Yakuza seems too intimidating to get started on because they've made 7 and are now working on an 8, and not to mention the spin-off games. Um, Judgment is an all new story, but it takes place in the same universe, and it's more of a noir detective thing in like a small town in Tokyo. So it's really cool. So I'll probably have more to say about that next time we meet.
I literally own that game, and I think it's still in its shrink wrap.
Judgment,
Yeah.
you would love that game.
Yeah, I feel like I would. I mean, that's why I bought it. I just never got around to playing it because I'm an awful person.
Yeah, I think you would be more into that one than. Have you played any Yakuza or Like a Dragon?
I played of course the RPG one.
Oh, the Like a Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, which was fantastic. Like really fantastic. And I played one of the Yakuzas way back in the day. I do own like the remake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. They can be like cumbersome, I think, a little bit. Just
Mm-hmm.
from playing like a dragon. Which again is an absolutely hilarious and fantastic RPG.
Yeah, I
But
definitely need to play that one.
it's also hours and hours and hours of cutscenes for one.
It is.
And
It is.
dialogue.
Tons of dialogue, tons
Yeah.
of side quests that lead to dialogue, but it's all really well done.
It is. It is. It's like playing, watching a TV show or a movie or something like that. And
And then you go and beat the shit out of people in between.
yeah, exactly.
I'll agree with you. It can be cumbersome. In fact, both Yakuza games that I have played, I'm counting Judgment as the second one. I have I tend to put down and come back to periodically,
Right.
and just put more time into them. And and I will say, compared to the Yakuza remake, Kiwami, Judgment seems more fleshed out because I mean that is a remake of a PlayStation 2 era game.
Right.
Um, and so it makes a little more sense. But Judgment is just it's a very fleshed out, lively city, and I think you would really connect with the story. It's a lawyer. Well, the main character is a detective. He was a lawyer years before, and when he got someone acquitted of a murder trial, which is extremely rare in Japan, they feature all these as like stats. He his kind that after that person is acquitted, his girlfriend is killed, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're a terrible lawyer. You got this murderer put back on the streets." And he kind of just falls apart and becomes like a down on his luck detective, instead, a private investigator instead. And he's just got a really compelling character arc that I think
Right.
you would be into. His partner is an ex yakuza, and so they get into all kinds of hijinks. Yeah.
I think the Yakuza series and its spin-offs are good at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic with character development and the sort of relationships and interrelationships between characters are wacky from what I've seen, but
Oh
uh
yeah, yeah.
but but fun and interesting.
It catches you off guard constantly. It's like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have today. How about you?
No, I think that was it. I mean, more Diablo 4, basically. That's kind
Ah,
of what I've just been biding my time with a little bit. Still going strong. Still enjoying playing, I guess, day to day.
nice.
I do feel like I don't know if I said anything about it. I think all with the itemization and just the game in general, when you get all the pieces together, right? All the
Mm-hmm.
things you need, you get your build going, and you get kind of some of those right rolls that you want on equipment. It feels good, right?
Arousing.
I am not a min maxer at all. I think once I normally get kind of sort of a build going, it's downhill from there. Close to the finish. I'm 2 feet out the door. kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I might swap it up to kind of keep things fresh. But yeah, I definitely don't want to like, okay, let me get like 2% more damage here and or 2% more defense there. I'm not that type of guy. But this game, it feels good to kind of
Slowly improve.
min-max a little bit. Yeah, slowly
Yeah.
improve and like, oh, I got the same weapon, but this one does have this type of damage instead of this, right? It has vulnerable damage instead of damage to injured enemies, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it that does feel good. Like the increases are significant enough to make an impact. So I looking at it all now, I really like how they've done itemization and all that.
Nice.
Looking forward to season 1 to start whenever that's going to start pretty soon.
Speaking of, I saw Overwatch 2 advertising a season 5. When did that happen?
Yeah, I
How are
mean,
they on season 5?
well, Overwatch seasons are like a month long or some shit.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. Well, with the battle pass, right? They're quick.
Well, because they
They're
want to keep
quick,
selling.
and they have the battle pass. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
There
go
is
fuck yourself.
absolutely no flipping reason you should have to buy more than one battle pass every couple months. I don't even think you should have to buy a battle pass more than once. Like it should
Right.
just be, I don't know. We can't get into that now. I'll talk for an hour, but that's wretched.
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Go to hell with your battle passes. We don't want them. All right,
Of course, they
everybody.
got those in Diablo 4. So,
Um,
of course,
I
they
am
absolutely.
formally denouncing battle passes. You heard it here. The Nerding Grounds official stance.
Well, and it's not
Ew.
good. Like Overwatch 2's content
Oh, it's
within that is
bullshit.
is really, really bad. And now if you buy the battle pass, you get 3 co-op missions that you can play with your friends instead
Which
of
is the
instead of
most
yeah,
pathetic.
yeah. Like
Like,
really.
you said
Uh,
that right after you came out with the announcement that you weren't making a campaign.
yeah.
Go to
Disgusting.
hell.
Now you can play 3 missions instead.
Oh,
And
gee
instead of having all
willikers.
that character customization and all this good stuff that we were working on to promise, no, you just take your normal character and run through, like our seasonal events, right? I guess,
Jesus.
and pay for it every month. I really hate uh
Current monetization.
especially there. Why did they pick Overwatch to just be disgusting? Like absolutely disgusting
I
with
mean, they
their.
were pretty bad with the loot boxes in Overwatch 1.
But
It,
that's the thing. I mean, and you tell anybody, I miss loot boxes now. I literally, from what they gave us, I literally missed loot boxes. It felt way more rewarding for me to sit there and play the game and get my free loot boxes than
oh, the
than
free
the
ones,
shit. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I never paid for anything. So when they started, yes. And our loot
Yeah.
box is scummy. Absolutely, it plays on gambling. I know that. I also understand that a game kind of to be a continuous service, it needs to make money. I mean, just to be on a server alone costs them a lot of money, right?
Sure.
Continuously kind of run the game. So I fully understand their need. It's really just better to just have the things on a cash shop and let you just buy the motherfuckers.
Right. And if you want to dole out free loot boxes, but
Yeah,
don't give people the, and they're not really anymore, but yeah,
yeah. They
janky.
don't have free loot box. They don't have anything. They just have the battle pass.
The
That's what they
battle
have.
pass.
And you can buy old skins for ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, they can go to hell with that shit.
Yeah.
All right, people. That's all we got. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening and watching. If you're watching, hello. Um, we went over the Nintendo Direct briefly, talked about Armored Core, Lies of P, Humanity, and our little 15 minutes of bitching about Blizzard and loot boxes and stuff. Um,
Get a little angry there.
I, yeah, I'm gonna be out of town next week, so we're gonna be skipping a week, but we will be back
I'm just
in
finding this out
July.
now.
Yep, this is my way of letting you know.
Yeah.
But please follow our channels on YouTube and Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends. Thanks so much. Have a great week /